Good afternoon, everybody. It is my great pleasure this afternoon to introduce to you Dr. Leo Igwe. We are also joined by our friend Esther, the African humanist. Good afternoon, guys.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Very nice to meet you. I was first introduced to Dr. Igwe's work by Esther. She told me about this amazing TED Talk that you did. I had a look at it and I was like, wow, we have to speak to this man. If you could maybe just tell us in a nutshell, what it is that you do in terms of your humanism activism, and how you got involved in this line of work.
It's a long story, and but I must tell you, just stop me anytime you want me to stop. But anybody who is born, in Africa, in Nigeria, you are born into an intensely religious environment. And as you grow, you ask questions, and questions that religion doesn't provide an answer, or they provide answers that do not add up. But the challenge is not just that religion provides these answers that sometimes are as good as no answers, or sometimes are childish or nonsensical. But there's this culture that you don't question religious teachings. Now, beyond that, that is also that when you question it, there's a penalty. There's a penalty. There are consequences, and these consequences could range from ostracization, physical attack, banishment, imprisonment, incarceration, depending on where you find yourself. If you find yourself in Christian-dominated areas, the penalty might not be, clearly extreme. It could be extreme, but not obviously extreme. But when you find yourself in Muslim-dominated areas, it could be a matter of life and death. So I see religion as holding Africans hostage, mentally hostage, socially hostage, morally hostage, and intellectually hostage. So that as a child, when you find yourself in this environment, and of course, you continue to grow, you will be longing for a time you could be in the position to challenge religious tyranny, to challenge religious nonsense, and challenge religious persecution. So this was how I was brought up. In Nigeria, in my community, they practice a mix of Christianity and traditional religion. But when you go up north, they practice a very vicious and intolerant form of Islam. And when I say intolerant here, I mean intolerant to apostasy, intolerant to free expression of one's views, especially when those views are critical of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, or allied traditions. So I grew up in this kind of environment. Incidentally, I went to Catholic seminary, and I initially trained to be a priest. And that training actually more or less brought me to the point I said, hey, no, this can't work. And count me out, absolutely. If you didn't have the intense training, you can say, okay, let's manage it. Let's ignore these people that are talking nonsense, okay? Let's ignore them. But when you have the training and you come very close to the lies, to the misconceptions, to the mind control, and to the fact that human beings take decisions whether another person will live or die just because you question certain religious teachings, there's a way it drives you. I don't want to say extreme or militant, because sometimes many people might think, oh yeah, you are on the same page with the fanatics. It drives you to be very passionate and intense. And that's a lot of people ask me, why am I, so passionate about what I do? Because I have gone there. I have seen it.
Exactly.
Yes, I have seen people go into empty house. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with you so wholeheartedly, because you find that you know that usually people who have a passion for truth and a passion for justice are the people who are outspoken. You know, and you know, personally, this is my my mission as well, is because I feel that the imposition of religion on people is such an injustice that it angers me. You know, so I have this natural desire to speak out and to be in opposition to, like you say, that tyranny. You know,
sorry. It is not just a natural desire. You have a moral duty.
Yes.
For
Correct.
me, I take it as a moral duty. Yes.
I agree.
Whether somebody appreciates it or not, that will be a topic of another discussion. For me, with all I have seen, I think it's a moral duty to speak out against the excesses of religion.
It's tyranny, in my opinion. You know, and the thing is, when religion realizes that it is strong in a community, you'll find that they don't come with outstretched hands, being all nice and gentle. That's when they come wielding the sword and the, you know, and the chains of jail.
Yeah.
For myself, I share a lot of things in common with Dr. Leo. When I was coming out of religion and leaving the church, I was in the Church of England. I was making my way to becoming a priest with the Church of England. And the further I went with that training, that's when I realized this is nonsense. This is nonsense. It's like, you know, you learn about the origins of the religion, you learn about the history, and you clearly, for myself, because I'm half Nigerian, so I've got my Nigerian background, right? You're coming from that Dr. Leo, you can relate and identify with the way Nigerians do religion, right? And now you come over to a different way of doing religion, and you're asking those questions. Why are you guys so different? And then you learn about history. How can you learn about the history of Christianity? Learn about where this religion began and how it has disseminated throughout the years, and still choose to follow these things. And so I met Dr. Leo when I joined my local humanist group. My local humanist group were having a talk, and they said, "Oh, we've invited this gentleman. His name is Dr. Leo." I said, "I read that name. He's Nigerian, and that name, that I need to find out where that person has, you know, come from." So I went online. I went looking to see, and let me tell you, because myself. Oh, Dr. Leo, you're going to get into the work that you do. I've been accused of by my in-laws, ex-in-laws. So the work that you do, I was telling Dean, we need many more like you. We need so many more like yourself.
Right. So, you know, speaking of being in opposition to, you know, these, you know, it's also, you know, I always feel like I have to walk this very delicate path when I talk about religion, because, you know, especially in our African context, it's such a sensitive topic. You know, it's people cannot separate their personal identity from their religious identity. So when you criticize ideas within a religion, people take it so deeply personal always. You know, that's why you know, I'm always so careful about the language that I use when I talk about these things. But you know, I'm at this stage when I look at everything that religion does, you know, to especially our African mindset, that I'm at that point where I don't care anymore. You know, like if I step on the toes of somebody because of religion, then that's it. You know, so the reason why first of all, I wanted to ask Dr. Leo just to give us an update on two of the most noteworthy cases of where I don't know if we can call them apostates or how they identify, but there are these cases of a gentleman called Mubarak Bala and Yahya Sharif Aminu. Both of them apparently are still incarcerated. I'm not exactly sure what the details of the cases are. If Dr. Leo can just give us a little bit of background around these cases, because some of our members here might not be familiar with, firstly, the history of the case, and then afterwards we can just, maybe investigate or just get a rough idea of what the current situation is and how these cases are developing.
Yeah. Well, the cases of Mubarak Bala and Aminu Sharif, they are just another illustration of religious tyranny and of impunity when it comes to any kind of assumed offense, when you commit any kind of assumed religious offense. And it's also another illustration of the wretchedness of African religiosity. Wretchedness for me is an understatement. Viciousness. Yes, it comes with wickedness. It comes with insensitivity. It comes with, what you can call man's inhumanity to man. Now, what happened in the case of Mubarak Bala? Mubarak Bala is just like a young Nigerian growing up. And of course, didn't agree with what he was being taught, the way he was being trained, the way he was being prepared to be an extremist. He says it. He said no to those things. And of course, he started speaking out. You see, look at the layers. First of all, you might have this awakening or realization. But another level is that, do you speak out? If you speak out, there'll be consequences. Because the thing is that even if you have those realizations, keep them to yourself, bottle them up and be choking and be suffocating there. That's what they want. Okay? So he started speaking out. And initially, the family, that was in 2014, they took him to a mental hospital. And that was the point when I got to know about Mubarak Bala's case. Because I was then studying in Germany, and they reached out to me and said, hey, one of us had been taken to a mental hospital because he came out as an ex-Muslim. And, it's always a dangerous thing, because for us in Nigeria, Islam goes with a lot of violence, force. I mean, that one is a common knowledge. So it's not like Islamophobia and all these things that are talking about out there in the West. So we know that. So, and it was a challenge. Now, what do we do? Who will actually go close? Who will identify? Because there's a tendency that when you identify with the person, you will suffer the same fate. So, but through some kind of international coalition and network and campaign, he came out of it. But of course, he continued to, according to him, to enlighten the people, awaken the people, and express his mind freely. And he made a post that was last year on Facebook, which angered some Muslims, and they said that it was blasphemy, that they offended their religious sensitivity. And there is this idea that religious people think they are the only ones that have sensitivities. They don't ask, what about the sensitivities of non-believers, non-Muslims, or non-theists? No, they don't count. And this is one of those things I told you that is so vicious about how religion is being practiced. Sensibilities is only for religious unbelievers, and they are to be offended. And when you offend them, the consequence is death with impunity or persecution. So what happened? They reported the case to the police, which was for me a kind of a pretense to really get him and shut him up. So they took him away. And they held him incommunicado for several months in a police cell in Nigeria, where we have laws. Okay? So that will tell you, what does that tell you about the law? No, the law doesn't matter. What matters is the interest of fanatics and Islamists and jihadists.
Right.
You see? So now they held him there, but we now, of course, started campaigning and started lobbying the UN, all sorts of mechanisms we could use. Then eventually, we now found out that he was in a police cell, and we took the police to court. The police moved him to the prison. We now took the prison and the state judiciary to court, and until they now went and filed some charges at the High Court. And it's now over 600 days. They have not formally arraigned Mubarak Bala. Meanwhile, he's about to spend about 2 years in jail for an offense ordinarily, when tried, may not get him even up to a year imprisonment if he's convicted.
Right.
An offense that is actually not an offense.
I know. Where's the defendant?
Yeah. So, and the same thing applies to Sharif. You know, in his case, he's a musician, and he sang a song, and which in that song, I think he praised one holy man from Senegal and was saying that he's greater than Muhammad and all that. And they went and arrested him, and of course they sentenced him to death. And the case was appealed. They said he has to be retried. Now they've now put him in jail. Nobody knows. Are you retrying him today? They just held him in kind of in limbo. They just held him there and held Mubarak there. No formal trial. Now he's being held by a government under a rule of law and things like that. So this is, in summary, you know, what these two high-profile cases, what they are about and what they're going through. And I always tell the world, look at Mubarak, look at Sharif, and you will know, you know, the situation of religion in the country.
Right.
And also, was there not that 10-year-old young boy?
Yes.
That was
there was a case of a 10-year-old, you know, boy that was also convicted, but eventually the case was thrown out when it was appealed. And I think that the boy has been safely moved out of the country. That's what I understand. And all that. Yeah.
Because they were afraid that even though the case was thrown out of court, the Islamic fanatics would still, because these people are offended.
Yes.
Why would you talk about my God the way you have done? And so that 10-year-old was still, there was fear for his life, even though the case has been thrown out of court. Yeah. So the people who got, because people were like, how can you sentence a 10-year-old to 3 years imprisonment? For something to do with your religion? So there was outcry. People, international people were saying, I will do his sentence for him.
Yes. Yeah, that was that case. But eventually he was left, you know, they was left off the hook. They released him, and he's out of the country now. But Sharif and Mubarak are just there, and there's no idea of when they will be charged, or when they will be arraigned, or when they will be tried, and all that. And meanwhile, they are in prison. They have been in prison, suffering that already. So that's exactly where we are when it comes to that.
And I mean, what are the conditions like in a typical Nigerian prison? Do these people at least have access to legal help? You know, what are the human rights like in typical Nigerian prison? Now, also, I have to also just stress that there, you know, what I have just from a cursory bit of investigation online, there's apparently a dual legal system where there is the secular laws and then there is the Islamic laws.
Yeah.
And depending on where you are in Nigeria, apparently a different legal system applies. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. And depending on where you are and depending on the religion you profess. Okay? And again, let me also say, depending on how rich you are. Because very often, Muslim politicians who are accused of corruption, they will take them to secular courts where they get some, how do you call it? They do some plea bargain and get themselves out. But poor Muslims, the poor ones, are taken to Sharia court, where sometimes are given some very extreme sentences. So it's only that we have not just dual legal system, we also have a kind of multiple layers of who gets tried and where, and all that, whether you're a rich Muslim, a poor Muslim, an ordinary Christian in the north or not. So there's a whole lot of confusion, which is an indication, yes, of a very sorry state, chaos, anarchy, you know, and confusion. when it comes to Nigerian legal system. And what happens is that the elite use it to further their interest, as in this case, Mubarak, because Mubarak, as a non-Muslim, should be tried, under the secular laws and in the secular courts. But no, they know that the sentences are light according to them. So what they do, they refuse to even arraign him at all and keep him there, so that as long as they want, so that he suffers punishment that is not in line with the secular law under which he would have been tried. So that's the game they are playing, all in the name of religion, all in the name of Islam.
And the last time I checked, I believe that Mubarak has been in detention now for, I think it's a couple of 100 days already, and the duration of the sentence, if he was to be found guilty, is just short of that period that he's already been spent in jail.
Yes. Because the Muslim elite, the Muslim government there, they consider the sentence, the punishment under the secular law as, in quote, lenient, not harsh enough. So why try him there and give him a very, in quote, lenient sentence? Why not put him, just arbitrarily detain him as long as we want, and using some kind of pretensions and tricks, excuses, alibis, just to keep dribbling everybody, another till we are satisfied. Either we let him go or he dies there. Because for us, they really don't want to kill him. They want him to die slowly.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of justice. It's a matter of spite.
Yes. Yeah. That's what is going on there.
Yeah. That's crazy. I get so angry every time I hear about this. Because I almost want to say to them, bring the accuser. Present the accuser. Let's see the accuser in court.
Exactly.
Where's Allah or Muhammad or whatever in court?
Yeah.
Because this is the party that has been offended.
Exactly.
How can you hold that? How can you call this justice?
Yeah. And again, like I said, if we are to go that line, non-religious, non-Muslims are offended every time and every day they preach. Yes. The Quranic texts and another text they use, they are filled with verses and sections that enjoin believers or Muslims either to attack or to wage war, or in one way or the other harm non-believers. Non-believers are framed as those who could be attacked and killed with impunity. And so if we are to actually go by the logic of their religious offense, there will be no peace in the country.
Right.
So the thing is that it is a kind of privilege. They think that they can do it and get away with it. And that is exactly what we have to fight against, and that what we have to expose.
Yeah.
But someone was asking a question. Why can't you leave blasphemers in the hands of God? That's a good question. Why do they need to fight for their God?
Yeah.
God can fight for himself or herself or itself. At what point do people I think it's just a deliberate act to frustrate Mubarak and people like himself.
Yeah.
They want them to
it's
denounce.
A deterrent,
they want them to denounce their non-religious beliefs and come over to whatever religion these people are trying to promote, which is Islam in this case.
But you see, this is how religion, it's a form of mind control, so they're using one person as an example to keep everybody else in line, so people see, they don't see Mubarak in the community. They hear, okay, he's been arrested for this, and it instills fear in people, so it's I don't know who called it the mind forged manacles. So it keeps people in check because they live in fear, and it's the worst kind of tyranny possible. You know, is to try and control the way that people think and how they've, you know, manage their own thoughts and behaviors. It's a horrible form of mind control to impose on people. And the thing is, people, you know, people people willingly submit to this. This is the other thing that that I find so you know, offensive, is like you know, people willingly buy into these things. You know, and I don't know if it's the legacy of colonization or you know, there has to be something about the you know, how the colonizers just came. I mean, from the north, Islam washed south, and from the south, Christianity washed north, and very little remained of that. I mean, you know, I've spoken to you know, some of our elders in our country, and you know, there are tales of this rich, diverse cultural history that's just been whitewashed completely by these two invading ideologies. You know, and it's basically robbed our African identity of that you know, cultural and because you know, it's very in touch with nature and the way that that humans are connected to nature, and Christianity and Islam has just whitewashed that whole part of human expression off the map. You know, and that's the cry. I think that's the crying shame of the whole matter.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you, but we also have to understand that, first of all, culture is dynamic, you know, and over the years, over the millennia, people have been influenced by one kind of cultural trend or the other, philosophies, ideas, worldviews. They are all there because they are part and parcel of our efforts to make sense of life, make sense, you know, have meaning, you know, and all that. But there is an issue with religion, of course, which has also helped religion to last this long. The idea of dogmatism, authoritarianism, and the idea that there is this price, this heavy price you pay when you question religious orthodoxy. And this is exactly what we are now. Of course, I mean, Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, African traditional religion, and other religious notions and philosophies, they are all there, human efforts to make sense of life. But here now, we are held hostage by two particular, you know, extreme, you know, religious strands. Because they're telling you, okay, now we have come to the end of philosophies and religion. We are the ultimate. And you see that embedded in the religion. Like now they will tell you, oh, this is the last and the greatest prophet. There's no other prophet after that. This is the perfect religion. So any other religion is inferior. Any other idea is inferior. And look, it's not just any other religion or idea is inferior. Any other person who espouses any other idea or religion or philosophy is inferior and should actually be eliminated or subjugated. This is the terror religion, you know, has continued to
totalitarian,
the totalitarianism, you know, and this is where religion has come in between humanity and human efforts to grow, improve, and progress.
I think
and it's so again, you know, it's the opposite. Sorry, Esther, go.
Going on that point that Dr. Leo was talking about, really, people, every religion promotes that this is the only way to heaven. This is the only way to God. This is the only path to righteousness. And these are the questions that I was asking when I was deconverting from Christianity. I was asking the question. So there are how many religions in the world again?
Thousands.
So many. Thousands of them. Yes.
There's so many. And so how come I have chosen this one out of all the so many, right? So I've chosen Christianity as my religion of choice. Now you hear the average Christian would tell you, we preach peace. Oh, Jesus died for your sins. They try to give you reasons why their religion is better than the others. But the thing is, each religion teaches just exactly what you're teaching, right? They're teaching the others, the followers, that this is it. Anything outside this is wrong. Anything outside this is, so I started to narrow it down. So this religion that I've chosen, Christianity, right? Break it down. Okay, in Christianity alone, there are so many so many denominations, so many so now the question now became, which of these denominations is right? Is mine and slowly started to break down, and I realized, oh, just like what Dr. Leo said, religion is just man's way of trying to make sense of the world. So
for me, I think the important thing is that watershed moment that you talk about, Esther, came for me when I was exposed to other religions. And it doesn't take a thinking man long to realize that not both of them can be right at the same time. These are mutually exclusive ideas. And then it's just a few more steps down the road that you realize not all of them can be right, but all of them can be wrong.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And that was the aha moment for me. But
no, I think that you see, a lot of people ask me about my own aha moment. I said I'm a little bit of a slow thinker. I follow things gradually. I'm like this person that will go close to a lion, I will touch it and go back again before I prepare to attack it. So so my own is that when I started reading about other religions, and it was like, you guys are almost saying the same thing.
Dr. Leo.
Yeah.
Dr. Leo, there's something I would like. There's something I would like for you to talk about.
Okay.
Myself and Dean sent me this article video. It was about a church in Nigeria, the Lord's Chosen Church.
Okay.
6 birds were killed in this church, and they took videos of these birds that are dead. And the general overseer, he said that these birds came to attack, and these birds are the evil ones, and they've managed to kill these 6 birds, and they displayed them, and the people in the audience were so happy that the spiritual enemies that have come to attack the church, right? So this idea of witches, wizards, these evil things in the spirit that come in the shape of birds, that come in the shape of cats. Those are the 2 major ones, birds and cats, and then the other animals. You do a major work with witches, advocating for witches in Nigeria. I have been accused of being a witch myself by my ex-in-laws. But fortunately for me, I live in a country where there's freedom of belief, non-belief, right? So, but if I was in Nigeria at the time when I was accused of being this witch, I'm sure the treatment would have been different.
Sure.
Who knows what could have happened to me?
Sure.
But I was petrified when your in-laws accuse you of being and they in their minds they've seen dreams of me in their dream. Where do you begin? So I wanted you to speak a little bit about, because this religion mixes, when religion and culture, when they all jam together, it becomes a mess.
And don't forget to add superstition into the pot as well.
Superstitious belief.
Yeah, Dean, I must tell you, when they say religion, superstition, I find it difficult to know the difference. I don't know. I know maybe English people might help me, but when you say religion, I say superstition. I think you're just trying to glorify superstition, and you call it religion. Do you get it? So that's it. Esther, you see, there's a whole lot of damage going on here, and that is why religious establishments should be challenged. They should be held to account. Religious narratives should be questioned. Yes. Because I keep telling people, a lot of people think, oh, you're anti-religion. No. Bring it to the table of inquiry and critical examination. That's what is important. That's it. Whether it is philosophical or religious or superstitious, bring it to the table of critical examination. So now let me tell you the harm that is being done. Religion has so much enchanted nature. Yeah. Imbued nature with magical, spiritual forces and agency. Yes. Now, when you see a bird, it is no longer a bird. Yeah. Because there's the notion that human beings can turn into birds. Now, let me take you further the line of absurdity and pain. Recently, in the city where I live in Nigeria, in Ibadan, an elderly man was accused of turning 2 students into 2 tubers of yam. Okay, Dean, I don't know whether you know what yam is, because a Norwegian guy visited me in Nigeria. I was asking me what is yam. I was a little, it was tough for me to describe. It's like potato, but it's a big one. But
yams. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So an elderly man was accused of turning 2 students into yam. 2 tubers of yam, and the man was killed. Can you see it? So it is not enough. It is not enough, to that people are just having this ridiculous, absurd belief. But those beliefs sometimes, the layer between absurdity, violence, and bloodletting is very thin here. Now, let me go further that line. Some years ago in Kwara State in Nigeria, the police detained a goat. Now, let me tell you what happened to the goat. Okay. Now, in the night, some vigilante groups, because there are areas where they don't have security, we have what they call vigilante groups. Yeah. So, and in the night, in many places, they don't have power. So it's dark, so you barely see, as you are moving around. So some vigilante groups, they said they were running after a car thief, somebody who attempted to steal a car. So the person now ran into this dark area, and they pursued the person at a point. They couldn't find him, and they found the goat. So they took the goat, and they're claiming that the thief turned into the goat, and they took the goat to the police station. Okay? So
the goat was arrested.
The goat was arrested. I didn't want to put it that way so that it doesn't sound this, but you have said the goat was arrested, and they handed the goat over to the police, and there was a press conference, and the goat was just sitting there innocently waiting, of course, to eat leaves and the grass and all that. So the next moment. So what am I trying to say? It
not guilty.
Yeah. So human beings can turn into goats, they can turn into yam, they can turn into birds, they can turn into so many things, snakes, dogs, cats, and all that. So religion has made a caricature of our intelligence as human beings. Religion has also driven us to the point that we become savage, bestial. We take actions, we kill. Yeah. Now, let me also quickly give you this example. I'm currently, investigating a case. A guy he went close to the river to pray, because sometimes some denomination will tell you go close to the river, go to the mountain, because Jesus was at the mountain. So this guy went to the river. He was praying. Now some villagers saw him and said, no. This must not be ordinary prayer. He must be there invoking some forces that will come and destroy us in the village. So they accused him of engaging in some demonic stuff. So they went, mobilized. They took him, they abducted him from there, put rope on his neck, tortured him, And when he was about to die, they threw him into the river. I'm investigating the case as I speak now.
Right.
Okay, right. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to, confirm what Esther said. It is painful how religion has poisoned people's sense of understanding the world, and how religious organizations are thriving, are making a lot of capital, are leveraging on this. And of course, when you try to question and challenge these claims, they are up in arms. They try to accuse you, challenge you, attack you, and delegitimize you in any way. In Lagos, bus stops, there are some bus stops, we have gotten news that that birds, when birds are flying, they said, oh, they're going to meeting. So when you see birds, sometimes you don't admire them as they fly around, because actually the birds are like witches going for meetings. So in public parks, we had very rowdy, you will hear that, oh, a bird turned into a woman. And sometimes these are elderly women who strayed because they have become senile, they're having this dementia, and sometimes they stray into these public parks. Somebody will just raise alarm that that bird that flew across turned into the elderly woman, and they will beat the woman sometimes to death. So this is where we are, and for me, this is the red line. Religion has crossed the red line when it comes to humanity, sanity, and decency. And on that note, we must fight religion and religious establishment. Period. No going back.
Dr. Leo, Dr. Leo, I need to ask you a question, because this is a question I am asking myself.
Okay.
You will find that in most of these cases where people are accused of being witches and all these things, it usually originates from the leaders of that religious organization. There have been pastors that have told their members that your mother, I saw a vision. God revealed to me that your mother is the cause of your misfortunes. Your mother is the reason why you are not a millionaire today. And so it's your mother. The mother is there, innocent, hasn't got any clue. And then there have been videos of people beating up their mothers. Because their religious leader has told them that their mother is, so innocent people have been accused. But it is the leaders of these organizations that are, do you think it is deliberate by these leaders to further entrap their members, to further, because I see a situation whereby these leaders tell the members, look, we need to do a deliverance session. Your auntie, your father's uncle's mother is the one who is the cause of your problems, and you need to come for special deliverance. You need to buy my special anointing oil, my special prayer blanket, my special this and that. So these people, do you think it's a deliberate act, or is it just where we are at with religion? I mean, I don't even know where I'm going with my question, but should we be holding these leaders more accountable? The likes of Adeboye, the likes of Oyedepo, the likes of Chris Oyakilome, these people.
Yes. You see, we should. You see, but we are not, and we are socialized not to touch the anointed. They say, touch not the anointed, or whatever. How do they say it?
Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm.
No harm. Okay, good. So this is where, of course, we got it wrong. And of course, religion has a way of protecting itself and shielding itself from accountability and responsibility. Now, what we have to understand there is that, like I said, having been trained, spent some time training to be a priest. Now, let me tell you the trick. They have nothing else to offer. Yes. They have, they don't have nothing else, because they cannot but speak on prophecy. They cannot but talk about revelations, because if they leave that universe of speaking, they won't have any market because they have to speak saying, oh, God is talking to me. Oh, I'm seeing something. Oh, I'm a prophet of God. You know, this is what is going to happen to you. They must use those prophets speak. They must use revelation speak. Otherwise, their market is finished. Okay?
True.
So that is the problem. They are held hostage. Yes, again, by their own religion because they cannot say otherwise. You know, when you hear scientific or science-based statements, they use something like probability. Okay, all things being equal, you talk about, okay, if things happen this way, this is likely going to happen. No, but they will tell you God is speaking to me, and you ask yourself what language. It is the language of the person who is hearing that. You know, another, and you ask yourself how many languages will God speak at the same time? Let's say on a Sunday or on a Friday, when a lot of imams and the prophets and priests and bishops are speaking on behalf of God in thousands, tens of thousands of churches and mosques worldwide. Okay, so for me, pity. I pity them at the same time because, you know, many of them cannot but use that language. But it is a pity that must be, you know, also matched with challenge, criticism, and, you know, activism in terms of trying to demand. When they say, oh, God is speaking to me, challenge them. How is God speaking to you? Which God is speaking? And all that. So we have to begin to question them. We have to begin to hold them accountable because it is those speak that is taking down the line. And now a lot of people in rural areas use it to indict women and people, disabled people. And okay, look, it's not only women. People who are disabled are sometimes believed to have brought curse, you know, into the family. So people who are supposed to be cared for are demonized, persecuted, abandoned because they have supernaturalized disability. So that is the monster. That's the kind of monstrous situation religion is creating. And that is why we must challenge them from the Pope. Because the Pope might be there. Oh, he's a nice man, wearing white robe, going around. Archbishop of Canterbury. No, they are sitting on establishment that is killing, maiming, you know, and leading to causing so much suffering to innocent people in rural and urban areas around the globe. So they must be held accountable.
This is so true. You know, it's like Bolilang just mentioned here as well, that there's this one particular area of Johannesburg where there's a rat infestation. So they're trying to introduce owls as a natural way of curbing the rat infestation. And then because there's a superstition about owls in our African culture, people were killing the owls. So you know, it's like you say, it's this kind of superstitious thinking that needs to be challenged, you know, because it's so ingrained. It becomes a cultural identity, you know. So when you're trying to challenge these things, people tend to resist and push back because they feel that you are actually attacking their identity and their culture. So there's a very, you know, it's a very, very delicate line to walk where you can still challenge ideas and still respect the people who hold the ideas. You know, so it's a you know, that's a difficult process. So let's talk just a little bit about you know, solutions and you know, what are some practical ways that we can engage you know, in these kind of conversations. And then you know, before we move on to that, Dr. Leo, I just wanted to ask you, you know, how is non-belief, you know, perceived among Nigerians? Now, I know Nigeria is not an isolated bubble. You know, there's going to be a diversity of perception amongst the average Nigerian about concepts like atheism, humanism. But surely, you know, it's my experience now that the more information we expose people to look in this information revolution that we've been going through as a society, has just exposed people to so many more new ideas. And especially amongst young people, there seems to be this shift where they are, more open to secular ideas, where this new wave of information is just empowering people to have new ideas, and it's almost like there's fresh water flowing into the Dead Sea at long last. If you can comment on that, and then
from what we were saying, from our previous discussion, I mean, it's very easy to know how non-belief, or people who don't believe in God, or the idea of non-theism or non-religiosity is perceived. I mean, when you say, okay, you don't, well, I always tell people, when you say non-belief here, I think it's non-religious belief. Non-belief in the kind of nonsense we're talking about here. It's not like that we don't, actually, of course, believe in common humanity, tolerance, kindness. I mean, a society where people continue to live together, explore nature, preserve nature, and live happy lives. When we mean non-belief here now, I think all about this belief that maybe there's a God somewhere speaking to some people at some time and not speaking to others, and people are praying to another. So how is it perceived? You are perceived as an outcast. You are perceived as a deviant. Yeah. So there is this idea that you have left the way. And of course, I'm sure you are familiar, if you are familiar with the Christian teaching. Somebody said he's the way, the truth. He didn't say I am a way. He said I am the way.
The way.
The truth.
The way.
And people who follow that religion get so indoctrinated that when you live the way and you live the truth, I mean, you are done. You're finished. So that's how you're when you say you identify with non-belief in religion or Christianity, you are seen as somebody that is damned, and somebody that everybody must do everything, sometimes including things that are immoral and illegal, to bring you back to line, to bring you back to the way, to bring you back to the truth. So that's how it's being perceived. That's how they're perceived.
Yeah. The thing is, I cannot help but see the tribal connection, because as humans, and especially as Africans, we have very strong tribal connections, and community connections, and religion plays into that perfectly. Whereas if you're not part of the tribe or the group of people, you are, against it. You're perceived as a threat.
Yes, Yes, I agree with you, but human beings or human nature, or let me say human culture, is also dynamic. I don't have this feeling, because like now when I came to do some research, African studies, there's always this idea that if you want to talk about Africa, you look to the past. I keep asking, why can't we look at the future? Yes. Why can't we come up with other possible ways? So we're talking about hybrid now, when we're talking about online, offline. Why can't we talk about something? We keep moving forward, but we are still using models informed in the past. Yes, we are tribal. We always have this sense of community and all that. But at the same time, also, that tribal feeling could also take so many dimensions. Like now, I don't feel connected with people who think that when I tell them that a lie is a lie, they deny me of family support. I don't feel that feeling. I feel connected with a lot of people, atheists and atheists, free thinkers and skeptics in Australia who look different, in terms of color, in America, in Canada. Then I feel connected even with some members of my family. Now, let me give you this typical example, okay? My father passed away, that was in April, and he was buried in July. And in the course of there's a ritual we do beside the grave, and people will just put in some sand. So my sister is a Pentecostal, and when she was doing the last ritual thing, he said, okay, rest in peace, Papa. We will meet on the judgment day or resurrection day. Okay? I was like, wow, which one is the resurrection day? You get it? So, and she said it openly as if she was very sure there was going to be resurrection day and things like that. No, You know, as far as I'm concerned, that's mere superstition. That is speculation. You get it? And all that. So, and did I feel connected with that? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She lost me there. So what am I trying to say? There may be people who come from the equal tribe or whatever with me, but because they believe in this nonsense, what I'm trying to say is that while we feel connected in some areas, I feel disconnected in some other areas. While I feel connected with people like you, people like Esther, and people in other parts of the world who also, share certain beliefs with me. So what am I trying to say? We have to reconceptualize and rethink the issue of tribalistic sentiments and affiliation. They may also transcend what we used to understand, and they may actually take a global tribal kind of network that includes people who think alike. I don't know whether you're getting what I'm trying to say.
Can I just say, so I would, when I make my my opinions, and I come from a layman's perspective. I come from the average person, who, let's say, uneducated and, just hasn't got a clue. Just the average thinking person who is born into a religion, just carries on following with the religion. Now, my thing is asking questions. Asking the hard questions, the what, the where, the how, the whys of your religion. How did it begin? How did it get to you? How did it disseminate all the way to you? Have you got the right version of the religion? Have you and also I appreciate, until I relocated from Nigeria to the UK, I see a different way of living. I see a different, how they do things completely different. I was told that the way the English people do church, that they are devil worshippers. They don't know God. They don't have the right version of God. We in Africa, we are the ones that have the true version. I'm sure some of you might have seen the video of the pastor that was calling God on the telephone. Am I speaking to heaven? They feel that the African version of church is they have the direct contact with God, right?
And Allah. And Allah too.
Even the people in the West, I've heard American preachers telling their congregation that miracles still happen in Africa. Paula White, when
the chicken was saying Allah Akbar. Do you remember?
Paula White.
The chicken is growing. And the people
White.
Allah Akbar.
Paula White in America, when Donald Trump was trying to was trying to keep his position as president, Paula White was invoking the angels from Africa to come to the United States, to come and help Donald Trump to win the election. But we all know what happened there. These things he did not win, right? So
the angels stopped.
I feel that people need to change orientation. You need to ask. There are people that may not be able to relocate. There are people that may visit another church, visit another mosque, go and see what is done there. When you see the difference, the contrast, then you now ask, okay, so which one is right? We said something earlier on that they cannot all be right, but they can all be wrong. I'm just breaking it down for the average person, for the lay person, for the person who hasn't got the means to, you haven't got a doctorate, you haven't got a degree, but you've got a mind, you've got senses to ask these questions. Ask the hard questions. What? Where? How? Why?
Those questions are the light in the kitchen and the cockroach. When the cockroaches, when you switch the light on in the kitchen, all the cockroaches run.
Someone told me, they said, even if Jesus Christ is proven to be wrong, so even if they do ask the questions and come to the realization that Jesus Christ is their belief in Jesus is wrong, they will still believe. They would still choose. I mean, I feel that a lot of people are afraid. You know, a lot of religious people, in the back of their minds, they know that some of the Bible stories don't add up.
Yeah,
Some of the stories in the Quran don't quite add up. The Bible talks about Noah and God killing all of humanity. Your God did not spare one child or baby or infant. Not one baby made it into that ark. The Muslims, the leader took on a 6-year-old girl. The Muslims will tell you, oh no, they didn't consummate that marriage until she was 9 years old. They know that there are problems in their religion. They know. A lot of them know this fact, but a lot of them are afraid to go down that rabbit hole of questioning, of logical reasoning, because they know that if they dare to go down that rabbit hole, they cannot end up on the other side still believing. A lot of them are afraid. A lot of them are, how do you challenge? How do you challenge these beliefs? But my opinion, I would rather believe as many true things as possible. I would rather believe these true things than be depending on make believe and fairy tales and these spiritual. They call it the spiritual realm. That's why I don't do spiritual. When they say, oh, what belief have you got? Some people say
I'm spiritual.
No, I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist for me.
Yeah. You are spiritual, but you don't believe in spirits. I don't get it. Yeah.
Like it occurred to me now while you were talking, Esther. And I was thinking about I see that there is a fear-based response in religion. That sometimes manifests in these extreme forms. Like we all know the extremists. There are those who kill in the name of religion, who kidnap in the name of religion, who torture and maim in the name of religion. But it's a fear response, in my opinion, because I think deep down, every single person that holds to an untruth, they recognize it on some deep subconscious level, and whenever something comes to challenge it, and the immediate response is to lash out and it's a fear thing, so it's very telling, when we come to all these forms of, and Africa is no stranger to extremism. Trust me, we always think that it's the Arabs attacking Europe and America, but there are some very extreme forms of extremism. I mean, you look at the way that Boko Haram carries on. That there are bombings and things here in Africa as well, where these things are done in the name of religion. They are not, like perpetrated as crimes of people against people. They're done specifically in the name of religion, and that I'm rambling at the moment. I have no idea where I was going with this line of thinking. Forgive me.
I just want to say briefly that, you see, I don't mind if you have an idea inspired by fear. Okay?
Yeah.
Because fear is human. Okay? Yes.
Exactly.
You see, and I see religion as human. That's what a lot of people say, look, this is human. When you are telling me stories that, all of a sudden that somebody, was a virgin and gave birth to a child. I said, oh yeah, there you go again. It's like there's something you are hiding and there's something you don't want to tell me, which is human. Okay. Now, the issue I have with religion is dogmatism. The idea that you don't question it. Okay. That's number one. Number two, if you do that, what is the consequence? Okay. So whether it's a result of fear, whether it's a result of mind control, manipulation, fraud, I don't care. Where I really, care is that, please don't tell me you don't question a virgin's birth, that somebody was born of a virgin. I mean, come on, it gives me some mental, this kind of counterintuitive. I can't get it in my head, okay? And you tell me, oh, somebody resurrected and went to heaven, and you give me a picture which is actually an artwork, beautiful artwork, but not reality. Okay, and you tell me, oh, sorry, don't question it. And you told me, okay, that somebody wrote that a book was written by God. I said, which God? Where? Which language? That kind of thing. You say, don't question it. My issue is not, whether religion is embedded in myth and misconceptions and fear as a result of that. My issue is that, don't question it. And if you do that, you are attacked and killed. For me, that is where religion turns to be a monster.
I think that the fear of hell, it's not so much the fear of missing heaven. It's that fear of hell. And religion teaches people that there's an afterlife. And in this afterlife, it goes on forever. It's never going to end. There's this eternity. So they've painted this picture of hell being the worst case scenario. It's a place where you are tortured, a place where there's no remedy. Once you're dead and you're that's it. The moment you die, judgment comes upon you. So so choose you who you might serve this day and all these things. But when I was we're talking about solutions here. And this is my my simple idea of how I was able to get over the fear of hell. Because to be honest with you, I would have been an atheist way longer if I could have conquered my fear of hell. I mean, who wants to burn for eternity? Who wants to be in this place where there are demons torturing you morning, noon, and night? And so the questions, asking these questions, right? I went to the priest in the Church of England, right? I went to the pastor priest, went to him and said, look, I've got this fear of hell. What do you think? And this man sits me and looks me in my face and tells me he does not believe in hell. He does not believe that a loving God would create hell. So that was a shock to me, because I've always known that there is a hell. I did not, it was a new concept to think that a religious leader did not believe in hell. How is that? How is that a thing? And so, I started asking the question. And then someone said in a program that I watched on the Atheist Experience, it was Matt Dillahunty that said it. He said a lot of people come to him with the fear of hell. And the question he asks is, which hell? Which one? The Muslims believe that the Christians are going to hell. The Christians believe that the Muslims are going to hell. So you are only afraid of the hell of your religion. So if you are a Christian, you are only afraid of going to the Christian hell. So if you manage to escape the Christian hell, automatically you're going to the Muslim hell or the other religions that you do not believe. So which hell exactly are we talking about? And if you've got Christianity wrong, automatically and Islam, if Islam is the way, if Islam is the true religion, all Christians have got it wrong. So automatically all Christians are bound for hell.
Yeah.
So
This is what we call this is what we call the reverse Pascal's wager.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. And so when I started, asking this question, trust me, this did not come, this was over months of asking questions, of watching videos, of reading the Bible. The Bible hardly even talks about hell. Hardly does. So these are the solutions is ask. Where did this concept of hell come from? And I will end on this note. What kind of loving God creates a place where his children will burn for it? What kind of God does that?
Yeah. I think I'll be a better God. I'll do a better work.
Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think at this point, the issue of Barak is the reason why this meeting was organized, just to know where is this at. This man has spent, did you say 600 days?
Yeah, over 600 days now. Yeah.
And Dr. Leo, I know at the beginning you had some form of contact with Barak.
Yes,
am I right
yes,
in saying that?
Yeah. Yes. I still speak. He still calls me from the prison.
He calls you from the prison. How is he doing? That, I mean, and his wife. He has a young wife.
Yeah. And a few the son was few months old, I think, when he was arrested.
When he was taken. I know that a GoFundMe was set up because I've contributed to the GoFundMe. But where are things at the moment?
At the moment.
I know we said wait, there's no date, there's no but what about his wife? What about the GoFundMe? Is that still active? Can people still make contributions? And if they do, who is getting it? Is it the lawyers? Or is it the family?
Okay.
I mean,
yeah. Well, I think first of all, the Humanists International, they are organizing the GoFundMe thing and managing it. And the money goes into taking care of the lawyers and the family. That is the wife and the kids. So, like helping them with their expenses in terms of rent and also organizing visits to Mubarak, just to visit a prison visit for the wife and baby. Because at the moment, the government of Kano has refused to arraign Mubarak. They have not arraigned him now. And there was a recent update, I think an article in Associated Press, I think I'll share the link, where the the Commissioner for Justice there was interviewed, and he said that, I recently had, they handed the case over to me, and we are still trying to, as if there's anything they need to do. There's something they need to do before they really arraign him. No, nothing. It's all about that, waiting for the directives from their political leaders on if and when to arraign him. So they just left him there. So we have a legal team who are waiting to know exactly when they will arraign him and how. And that, of course, the whole process will start. So we just have a team of lawyers, 3 of them, who are on the standby, trying to see what they could do. So the GoFundMe is being used to take care of the lawyers, maintain the lawyers, while we wait for the government to, because if they don't bring him to court, we can't defend him. We can't get him out and all that. So that's exactly, and that's why they just stop there, because they know that any step they take now, of course, will give a clearer idea as to when and how he could be released. So that's the game they are playing at the moment. And of course, at the expense of the family, of the young lady and the baby, and of course, Mubarak, himself. So that's exactly where we are at the moment. So, but of course, we are looking at other channels we can use. Go ahead.
Is it possible to have the link, Dean? Is it possible to have the link for this GoFundMe?
I'll get the details
as part
of
this
all of
video?
those things. I'll get the details from Dr. Leo afterwards, and I'll put it in the description of the video on YouTube. Definitely.
Because every little
that we can do to
along
raise
way.
awareness and to help, we'll gladly do that. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Speaking, getting back to you and the work that you do, Dr. Leo. I've read especially that you do some work with International Humanist and Ethical Union on protecting people, or just creating awareness of people with albinism, which we also have a there is a sizable community of people with albinism in South Africa as well, but we also have a culture of what we call witch doctors or sangomas, where it is this macabre ritual where they actually harvest and use body parts from people that they kill in these rituals. So. It's not widespread, but you do have these occasional, like every year or two, you'll read about some story where somebody was killed and the body parts harvested for these traditional rituals. This is also something I believe that you've encountered in the humanist work, is the stigmatization of people with albinism in African culture. And it's a genetic thing that happens to a certain percentage of the population, regardless of whether you are African, Asian, European. It occurs throughout the human genome. If you could maybe give us some of your experience and insight into this matter.
Well, targeting people with albinism is just part of a larger problem. Informed by also another superstitious belief. In other words, that there's power in human sacrifice or sacrificing of human body parts, whether the person is with albinism or not.
Yes.
So, and it's a larger problem. So people with albinism are just a subcategory. Targeting them is just a subcategory of a larger problem, of an underlying belief that, of course, as we always say, linked to religion, linked to superstition, and linked to the idea that there is a supernatural being. Now, look at the very, painful, thing is that there's a supernatural being that takes pleasure or that could be appeased when human beings are sacrificed. And this narrative resonates with religions as we know them, at least on the continent of Africa. Okay, so, but of course, I always have this idea that we're not going to blame Christianity and Islam for everything, or colonialism for everything. The traditional religious notion is also founded by the supernatural is glorified, the human is subordinated. And in fact, recently, when we had this pandemic in Nigeria, one traditional ruler was talking about maybe having a human sacrifice to appease, to see if the pandemic could go away. And I was like, I was shaking. I was reading the line. I was like, what am I reading here? And how could anybody say this? Okay, so it is embedded there. And so what happens is that there's this feeling that, okay, either when a human being is killed, a supernatural entity is appeased, or when certain body parts are used, a supernatural process is set in place that could bring fortune, luck, or unluck, as the case may be, in terms of progress. So what happens is that there's the notion that the body, because of the body of people with albinism has this, in quote, it deviates from the normal, you quote, human body.
It's, because especially potent, yeah.
Yeah, so it's now seen as potent, spiritually potent, magically potent in terms of for sacrifice. So what happens to these sangomas or ngangas or traditional healers? What they do is to recommend some of this. When people come around, they recommend this deviant, either deviant because of body features or color or something. People should go after those things, get them for a sacrifice, which they think that will unlock the supernatural world or appease the supernatural entity. So this is how people with albinism get entangled with this superstitious belief. But I want to also say that it is not only people with albinism. In Nigeria, I don't know about South Africa or the part, but there are people we call people with hunchback. They have this hump, and all that. So there are also the notion that hump contains something spiritually potent. So people now, there was a woman, some years ago, I worked on her case because they just, she was just moving and they just kidnapped her and removed the hump and all that and left the body, the remains just there. And that was it. So, and there are people that also have this belief that the people with bald head, when you don't have enough hairs on your district. Dean, you are a target, okay?
Where's my hat?
so I mean, there are all sorts of conceptions, and I also have to tell you that sometimes when you go for rituals, they will tell some people to go and have sex with people who are mentally challenged, because and all that. So there are all sorts of things that these charlatans, okay, they call themselves traditional healers or whatever. They try to recommend, and at the end of the day, they instigate, they incite a process of violence and abuse and and atrocious acts. Yeah. So this is exactly what we're doing. So what we're trying to do, look, there's human body parts, whether it's that of albino, people with albinism or people with a hunchback, they don't have there's no spiritual potency. Yeah, it's natural. We all, and all that. So this is the kind of education we are trying to, we're doing. But of course, very often it falls on deaf ears, because the people you tell that will go to churches and traditional healers who will tell them, the opposite. So it's a kind of, we're just in a competition as to who would,
It's a dance. Yeah, it's a, two steps forward, one step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Or sometimes 3 steps backward.
Religious organizations have the money. They have the money. They have the the resources to promote the.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's unfortunate.
Yes, that's part of the thing. And again, there is also the notion that people also who are believed to either have these occultic powers, the best thing to do is to eliminate them. Yes. Because these occultic powers kind of have decided to get localized. They have found a place to be. These people have become a kind of I don't know how to put it. Sometimes they think that evil forces are looking for where to get embodied. So these people have become embodiment of these evil powers. So that is why, and that's how it's linked to this witchcraft accusation. That's why when such a person is accused or fingered, they kill the person, because that is the way to, remove the abode, the place, the embodiment of the evil. So the evil power will not have a place within the community. So that's why sometimes some of these people are targeted and killed if they are believed to have that kind of occult potency, which could be used to damage or undermine the progress in the community.
Exactly.
I was talking to somebody, a Christian, because they posted a prayer, and the prayer was, God, all my enemies who are after me, may they die a sudden death or something of that sort. May they die any enemies that are planning my death, may they die. So the prayer was praying death upon enemies. And so I was in a conversation with this person. I asked them, I said, you do realize you yourself have enemies. You're someone's enemy. There's someone who's not happy with you. So imagine if that person was praying that prayer against, and then I said, but why do you as a Christian need to pray these prayers? Does your Bible not teach you to love your enemies? And she said to me, no way. She said that's one thing that she vehemently says, enemies. It says if you leave enemies to thrive, they will come after you. If you leave these occultic people to thrive, they will come after you or your family or your, so those enemies, the devil people, they need to die. They need to go. And you look in the Bible. Look in the Bible. We're talking about human sacrifice, right? So even if the culture says we need a human being to die, right? We need a human to appease the gods. The ultimate holy book, what does it contain? It contains the ultimate sacrifice. The God of the Bible had to sacrifice his own child.
Own son.
We humans sacrifice each other. But the God of the Bible needs so even if you escape the cultural belief system and they leave the culture, then they run into church, and the God of their church, he has the ultimate sacrifice of a God needing human. I mean, how do we
yeah. It's yeah.
I mean, this is Christianity in a nutshell is you are so awful that you made God kill himself.
Yeah.
That's it, in one sense.
But let us also not say that God didn't only kill, but God later resurrected. Don't forget. So that has resurrection must go with it.
he did all that because he loves you.
Yeah.
And he needs money, God needs money. He made the whole universe and everything, but he needs money.
Never satisfied.
But this is also, there is definitely a financial motivation for religion to perpetuate. And even the witch doctors, it's big business. It's big business here. Talismans and these kind of divination sessions that they have with people, they are very expensive. I mean, like in rural villages here, I mean, people will, they'll take an entire cow for a session, and like if you're in an urban setting, people will pay off that session consultation with the Sangoma for months. They'll spend paying off that kind of money. And if they dare not pay, like the Sangoma puts curses on them. It's this. It's a very how can I say? It's a self-fulfilling kind of prophecy. The Sangoma helps you, but if you don't pay him, he's going to curse you. It's very strange. And it's sometimes you just want to like take an entire nation and shake them and go like, wake up, just wake up, just look at what's happening in front of you. But you also want to be sensitive to the situation, because I mean, if I reflect on my history, there was a time in my life when I was hook, line, and sinker into this whole thing, and when I left Christianity, I thought there has to be some other, and then I went spiritual and not religious, and so we also have to be sensitive in that sense. I feel
you see, Dean. Now you are saying we have to be sensitive. Let me try to be sensitive here now. You see, look, I agree with you. We have to, okay?
Yeah.
But at what cost?
That's the thing.
Yes, at what cost?
The cost is too high.
Yes, the cost is too high. Look at it. And you know, the price they try to take from us is, I mean, it's so much that, I mean, imagine like now what Mubarak is going through. Okay. There is no God, whether you call it Allah, whether you call it Jesus, whether you call it Vishnu, I don't know all those names. There is none. Okay. But he's being punished in the name of a God that does not exist. What I mean, what a shame. What a shame. So now people will tell you have to be sensitive somehow, maybe to the beliefs of these people. I say, fine. But at what cost? That's what that's why I'm trying to say that. Okay. So we have to, because part of the things, you know, we're doing recently is that we're trying to introduce a dialogue with people of other faith. Okay. And of course, that's where this issue comes in. But you see, when they talk about, oh, you need to respect our own positions and all that, they don't also understand that they also need to respect other people's, you know, whatever positions and all that. So, and I keep telling them that, why should we respect your ideas or beliefs? Instead, we respect you. Okay? Yes.
Exactly.
Now, there is this conflation. I'm sensitive to other human beings, you know, who might, you know, hold other beliefs. But when you hold beliefs that I think they are not true, I can defend your right to it, but I still hold my own right to entertain conflicting beliefs. And when I express it, I am, you know, and you accuse me of being insensitive. I disagree. Yes, I disagree completely. So there is this conflation of being sensitive to another human being and to being sensitive to what that human being believes, even though it is false, you know, it is, or I disagree with, and all that. So this is a very, the word sensibility, it features a lot in discussions between religious and non-religious people, and we need to situate this properly, you know, so that we can find a way to make progress, especially in the light of religion-based abuses and atrocities.
But you raised such a valid point, you know, because I was while you were speaking now, I was asking myself, at what cost? You know, like this is the watershed question. You know, it's like, what are we prepared to sacrifice in the name of political correctness and other people's sensibilities? You know, like, are we prepared to sacrifice human rights at the cost of somebody's sensibilities and political correctness? And I am not, you know, and now I'm asking myself, like, if I'm not, why am I being so gentle and tiptoeing around these issues? You know, when we, you know, there is a very clear black and white, right and wrong kind of line that people are crossing with these religious impositions. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, we can, you know, I also get the feeling that we can sit and talk about these injustices for hours on end, but I also want to be mindful and respectful of your time, Dr. Leo. So I think what we should do, just in conclusion, because this has been extremely enlightening for me, and I'm sure Esther shares my opinion there. You know, just I think maybe in conclusion, if you can maybe just tell us a little bit about the work that you are doing, some of the projects that you are currently working on in this context. And then in closing, just, you know, if you can recall some of the notable victories and challenges that you have faced on this journey.
Okay. Okay. I think in response to the challenges we have outlined, I've come to the point that it is not just enough to keep bemoaning the situation. It is important that we put in place some mechanisms. And first of all, what I've done is to launch what I call an advocacy for alleged witches, to create a platform to be the voice and give them a voice, because what happens is that when there are accusations like this, they deny alleged witches their voice, they deny them a platform, they suppress them, they compel them to resign to the accusations. So what I have done is to create this platform to give them a voice. And I must say that we have recorded a lot of success, but there have been a lot of frustrations from the establishment, from the government, because they think that, yeah, what happens is that when there are accusations, it should be left that way. Why should you come and be making trouble? They see me a bit as troublemaker. They see what we're doing as trying to ruffle feathers or something. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. We want to change this idea that when you are accused, then you are damned, you are finished. No. So we've been trying to support accused people, support them by providing them legal support, getting them lawyers, talking to the police, speaking to the police commissioners, police authorities in Nigeria, in Zambia, in Malawi, in Kenya, and in other places. Because what happens is that when people are accused, they get disempowered. Families abandon them, or even if they support them secretly. So, but we think that they are innocent people. They deserve all the support the whole world can get and give and all that. So that's what we try to do. And we've had some of them actually come back to us, like in Cross River, we have people who were set ablaze by a witch hunter. People they went house to house, brought these women, threw them into fire, put gasoline and set them ablaze. So what we did, we have provided some money for hospital bills, and we'll also be drawing attention of the police, even though the police, they have been very, very uncooperating and they have been frustrating our efforts. Yeah, so that's what we've done. And like a case I narrated earlier, this guy literally disappeared. No grave, nobody knows anything about what happened to his corpse and things like that. Now we are still calling on the government, we're calling on the police, launch an investigation. The video is there. Look at what happened. And of course, they are reluctant to get in there because some strong people, politically strong people in the community are there. So we keep putting pressure. And many families, of course, get back to us, grateful for efforts we are making, even though sometimes they don't translate into justice as we know it and all that. So that's part of what I'm doing there. And I'm planning to scale up that, program and continue to do that, because we have outlined a vision to make witch hunting history in Africa by 2030. Some people say that's a pipe dream, that we're just, it's not going to happen. But I said we should give it a fight. There is nothing wrong in giving it a fight and hoping that at the end of the day, more people will come on board, and at the end of the day, we might realize it then or a little bit after. But yeah, so that's exactly what we have done on that front. But I also told myself it's not enough. There's a need to target our schools. So I started what I call the Critical Thinking Project. And what I have done here is to operationalize critical thinking as generating questions. I was excited when Esther was speaking and talking about why, when, where, and how. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So, and I said, look, they tell us about critical thinking at the university level, maybe as an elective course, which many people don't do. And even if they do it to pass exams and get good grades and leave the university. So I said, look, let's start from the primary schools. So I started that project. And so I operationalized critical thinking as generating questions, asking questions in all areas of human endeavor. And I made it in such a way that children are encouraged to ask questions based on what they see, hear, touch, feel, read, and all that. So, and they are now assessed, and children are assessed based on ability to generate questions. So if you generate the highest number of questions, you get the prize. So that's exactly what it's all about at the primary school level. So
I
right now,
I want access to that. I want access to that.
Yeah. So now we have we're organizing workshops in schools, and luckily I applied to a state in southern Nigeria, the primary school board, and they gave me permission to hold workshops in all the primary schools. So what I do is that I try to, I employ my friends to support. We organize every workshop. Let's say it's $200 for a workshop. So in that workshop, the students and teachers will get free copies of the book. Then we do the exercises, and we put them in the network of critical reasoning schools for constant monitoring and evaluation. Then we have also applied to the school board for approval as a subject. So we're trying to do it from that end and all that. So that's part of work we do. So I share my time doing this advocacy for alleged witches. Then at the other time, going from school for school, encouraging them to ask questions. And I want to tell you, we are using the basics, the why, when, where, how, to ask questions in all areas. So that's about what I'm doing in that area now, and we're looking forward. We're making some progress, yes. Yeah. And people have been
very important because you essentially you are teaching people how to think, not what to think.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
That's the critical part.
Yes, that's it. So that's exactly what we're doing right now. So what am I trying to say is that it is not completely hopeless, and for me, the situation we have painted, for me, yes, it's a challenge, but it means that we have work to do. Somebody told me, Leo, you have your work cut out for you. I said, perfect. Okay. So I don't feel idle. I don't feel bored. I don't feel I have work to do, even though it is quite draining, especially the advocacy work is quite draining because you have to deal with people who are opposed, who are hostile and all that. But of course, if you have the resources, sometimes occasionally they yield to that pressure, and you also get some good feedbacks from victims and their families and all that. So there's still some hope along the way, but what happens is that we can't just rely on that hope to deliver itself. I'm putting in place mechanisms to translate and deliver that hope to the people.
Amazing. Esther, do you have any closing thoughts or questions for Dr. Leo?
Oh, I just would like to know how we can know more about his advocacy for witches, the links, and if there's anything we can do. I have a YouTube channel where I speak on these subjects, and maybe I would love for Dr. Leo whenever.
Esther, Dr. Leo has shared some links with me in the side chat as well.
I can see them. I can see them. I can see those links. Yes. And Dr. Leo, I want to thank you for the work that you do. Sometimes your work might not seem like a lot. Your work might not seem like you're doing anything. But even if it's just one person that is saved from being accused of being a witch, if it is one family that is impacted by the work that you do, hearing about starting from primary schools, when you teach children from a young age to ask questions. My 9-year-old at the time, my son was 9, when he came to me and said, Mom, I do not want to be a Christian anymore. I said, why not? You have to be a Christian. You like Christmas. You like your Christmas presents. If you don't like Christmas, then if Christmas comes from Christ and Jesus, and if you don't like that, then you can't get any Christmas presents. I had to ask him, why don't you want to be a Christian anymore? And he says, I don't like blood. And we were told that Jesus died and there was lots of blood when he died. And he doesn't want to be a Christian anymore because of the way Jesus, a 9-year-old recognizes that this is a barbaric death. This is not human at all. This is inhumane. And somehow, adults have been convinced that a loving God would do this act to his own child because he loves humanity. We have to get them young. it's harder to change when you become an adult. You get to a certain age, it's harder to change your ways, it's harder to change your habits and your thinking, but it's starting them young. I appreciate what you do, Dr. Leo, and any way that we can support, any way that we can be a part of what you do, please do not fail to ask. And also with Mubarak, you know it saddens me as a person, and I hope that in the near future that we can come back here and give people good news that he has been released, or something needs to be done.
Yeah, and please, if you have any updates, just drop us an email, and we can raise awareness. I think that's sometimes we feel so helpless when we are encountered with these injustices, and what I think what we can do from our side, myself and Esther especially, is just the more we talk about it, the more awareness we create about these things, the better it will be for everybody in the long run. When people, I think there is something inherent in human nature that makes us, when we see injustice, we want to, eradicate it. So the more awareness we create, the more we talk about these issues, the more we normalize atheism, the more we normalize dissent against religion, the better it is going to be for people in future. When religion tries to impose itself on them.
Yeah. Well, it's always my pleasure, and I just want to let you know that part of the challenge we've had over the years is that we don't have platforms to exchange and get our message across. And thanks to the internet, thanks to the growing activism out there, is exciting that we have so many platforms to get this message across. And I'm pleased and I'm excited, and I thank you, Dean. I thank Esther. Sometimes the feedback we get, they serve as a kind of oxygen, kind of what do you call it? The energy, it energizes us. The feedback energizes us, is encouraging. And some people ask me, what keeps you going? What keeps me going is occasionally hearing from people like Dean, from Esther, and yes, and knowing that somehow, somewhere, of course, not just, you're not doing it merely for that purpose, but to know that people appreciate what you're doing is really great, because you live in a community where a lot of people, sometimes demonize you. I mean, I went to visit a relative who is a pastor, and he sat me down. He told me that, look, that I keep going around telling people there's no God, that I will be sent to the hottest part of hell. I wanted to tell him, look, you are deluded. There's no hell. There's no hell. Not to talk of the hot or cold part. So yeah, and all of us, we went on ranting and all that. So people find it difficult because you say you are an atheist, there's no God. They find it difficult to look at the positive side of what you're doing, look at the promising side of what you're doing. They try to dismiss it and delegitimize it. So that's why sometimes it's good to, in quote, let me say now, talk to people of my tribe. The Atheist Republican tribe. Okay. So it's good, to talk to them and of course exchange ideas and let them know what's going on, use their platform to still getting across their message, because there's something that needs to be done, and some people are doing it, and I'm happy, to be one of those people, and we continue to do our best to make sure that we create some light and some kind of enlightenment, some kind of awakening in the region and beyond.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Leo. Thank you so much, Esther. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll see you guys out there.
All right. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.